What's going on, everyone? So, one of the things I'd love to see the Lakers do, if possible, is move into the first round of this draft, right? I think this is one of the deeper drafts. I think even if you could get a later pick, right? Team that I've talked about is like the Spurs, right? Spurs traded the 8th pick last year to kind of kick the can down the road a little bit. Could you maybe work something out with them, land the 14th pick, giving up some of your future picks, right? And boom, now you get a piece, young player that can add alongside Luka that hopefully can help now and the future, right? That would be great. That would be ideal. Obviously, if you can move into the draft lottery, technically the Spurs pick, not technically, it is the last pick in the lottery, but I'm talking more top 10. If you can move into the top 10, that would be awesome. Now, a team like the Houston Rockets supposedly are shopping their top 10 pick and are open to various type of trades. It doesn't have to necessarily be a star. They just want pieces and players that they like and think could add some value to the team now and the future. And there's a proposed trade that I saw kind of going around that I thought was really interesting, and I wanted to kind of talk about it, talk through it again, just kind of a fun exploratory video about the Lakers potentially trading into the top 10. And the trade goes as such: the Los Angeles Lakers would get the number 10 pick, as well as Nate Williams from the Houston Rockets. And the Houston Rockets would get the number 55th pick, so basically the Lakers' second round pick in this year's draft, and Dalton Knecht, right? And the logic for why Houston would do this is they already have enough young players and talent, and, they need shooting, right, desperately, and they could get a guy in Dalton Knecht that's already proven at an NBA level. Obviously, still needs some more development, still needs some growth, but there's also a lot of questions, even us Laker fans, that have been like, what would have happened if he would have actually been given an opportunity? Houston has more than enough defense, more than enough athleticism, more than enough everything other than shooting the basketball and a guy that can self-create, right? Dalton Knecht showed the ability to do all of those things, right? He's a little older, a little more mature. He also has the athleticism, but there's still enough growth and potential to kind of fit. So the idea and logic that was in this trade proposal was like, hey, Houston would get a player that's a little more proven than like an unproven rookie, but also get a guy that fits exactly what that team needs, that can slot in at the 2 or 3 for them, right? And kind of play a role. For the Lakers side of things, right, obviously they're moving in the top 10. They're getting a young player that can maybe help now in the future. Maybe you throw in another pick swap or something like that, right? There's interchangeables to this, but essentially the idea would be the Lakers trading for the number 10 pick. Now, Nate Williams is just salary filler, right? Because you have to have the salary exchanges for the two teams, right? So essentially, Nate Williams is nothing more than a salary filler. Lakers probably wouldn't even keep him around. But for those that are curious, he's a 6'5", kind of, combo guard, slotted in at the 3 in some spots, mostly plays in the G League. He's 26 years old. He's a guy that would just be trade fodder later on down the line, or they would just kind of, cut him, waive him, whatever, right? Like that would kind of be the idea with him. He's just pretty much just salary filler. Right. But the idea would be that, again, the Lakers now have a top 10 pick that they could either trade or ideally probably draft somebody. Because it's like, who are you going to get that would warrant the 10th pick that would make an immediate impact, right? Like a Nick Claxton, you could probably get without the 10th pick, right? Daniel Gafford, same thing, right? Like, so to me, I would love to see the Lakers moving in obviously top 10, but just the first round period. Now, I've seen people throw out the idea of like, oh, why don't the Lakers buy a first round pick? I've talked about the Lakers buying a second round pick. You've seen the Lakers buy second round picks in the past. First round picks, not so much, right? Teams don't really sell first round picks. And I mean, second round picks go for, 2-3 million. Imagine what a first round pick would go for. Probably 10, right? Especially lottery picks or, in the top 15 or something like that. Even if you got like the 25th pick or something like that, right? I've seen, people throw out like the Brooklyn Nets. They have, 19th pick and they have like, I think 4 picks or whatever, right? Like, so there are several teams that you could kind of explore this possibility with, right? But Houston's a team that has a top 10 pick that Dalton Connect makes sense for, that you could maybe then go get that center for now in the future, or a legit 3-and-D wing, or, best player available, whatever, however you want to do it. Whether you're looking at it and going like, well, we have Luka, so we should probably get more fit, or no, you just get the clear-cut best player available, regardless of the position or whatever. Just also depends on how the draft goes, right? Great example is Dalton Connect. Dalton Connect was, as high as like top 5 to top 3 on some of these NBA draft boards, and ended up falling to 17th for the Lakers, really because Memphis ended up taking Zach Edey, so it kind of threw a wrench in everything, and everyone else just kind of took the guy that they were going to get regardless. Dalton Connect fell to the Lakers, right? So, you never know. Guys fall all the time. Cam Whitmore was a guy that the Lakers should have taken. Jaime Jaquez was a guy the Lakers should have taken, and they didn't, and, they fell right in their laps, and Lakers ended up, taking Jalen Hood-Schifino, and we all know how that goes. But to me, ideally, if the Lakers move in the top 10. But I do think that they're, again, San Antonio, the Nets, there's multiple teams that have multiple picks and players. But you got to find a team that either A, wants to kind of kick the can down the road, which is why I've talked about like the Spurs, right? We saw them trade the 8th pick in Rob Dillingham last year to kind of kick the can down the road. However, right, last year's draft was not great, right? Last year's draft was looked at as one of the worst drafts, right? Like, there's guys that are probably going to go 15th that might have been a top 2 or 3 pick in last year's draft, right? Like last year's draft was not looked at as this like super elite, super high end type draft, where this draft, some experts think you might be able to find starting level talent in the second round. Obviously, there's always that random outlier, that guy that, Jokic being drafted during, a Taco Bell commercial, right? Like, there's always those outliers. There's always those, like, random, players that end up, you go back and you do the redrafts, and it's like, man, this guy would have been drafted second, right? Like, in the draft. You never know. But this draft, point is this draft is a lot more, a lot deeper, and there's much better talent, particularly in the front end, right? So the value of these picks are probably a lot higher than they would have been previously. So again, you need to find a team that A, is willing to kick the can down the road because, they have an abundance of picks, such as this team like the San Antonio Spurs, or B, you need to find a team that just really likes the idea of Dalton Connect or one of our guys, right? Somebody that's like, man, we really love, or you're working something out where you're trading Austin Reeves and, you're doing Reeves for, can you get like a Jabari Smith, Cam Whitmore in like the 10th pick, something like that, some crazy haul, right? That's probably what it would take for the Lakers to trade Austin Reeves. I don't know if Houston would do that, but I'm just using an example of like, realistically what it would probably take to pry that away. But again, a team like Houston, you might get them going like, man, we could, instead of getting this unproven rookie or something like that, or if the guy that they really like is off the board, it's kind of like, well, we could take a flyer on one of these guys, or we could bring in a guy like Dalton Connect that fits and solves something that we really need. And also makes, these kind of guys over here expendable. If I'm the Lakers, I would try to get Cam Whitmore in the deal too. Be like, Cam Whitmore, like, dude, he's just going to rot away on your bench, right? So, can we get the number 10 pick in Cam Whitmore? I'd give up quite a bit. I'd give up Dalton. Like, if you want Dalton Connect, the 55th pick, and, multiple pick swaps at that point, right? Like, because, again, you're getting a top 10 pick in this draft that's a really deep draft, really versatile draft, right? And then if you could get, like I said, a Cam Whitmore that gives you just a sizable, versatile, athletic kind of 3-and-D prototype, right? Like definitely needs to work on his 3-point shooting, definitely needs to work on that. But like I look at a team like Houston that just has a treasure trove and abundance of young players, right? Obviously, look, Houston, they're players in Kevin Durant and Giannis and whatnot, right? So basically those would have to fall through. right? It's like, okay, we didn't get Kevin Durant, we didn't get Giannis Antetokounmpo, so let's start looking and exploring other options, right? So maybe if you're at that point, maybe they're like, hey, let's go get a Connect and something else, right? Maybe you're getting Connect and Rui, right? And expanding this deal. And, because they're like, man, we could use Rui and his size and, him more as a power forward rather than a three, right? So he can kind of slot in. But if we need him to play the three in spots, he can play the three in spots. Because that's the thing. They have like an abundance of threes, right? So if you can go get that, as a backup to, Amin Thompson, perfect, right? So I don't know. Point is if the Lakers could get a top 10 pick, beautiful. But as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you think, yes, if you're the Lakers, go do that, right? Like whatever you got to do, whatever you got to give up. Do you think, no, be patient, not worth it? How do you feel either way? Love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot as we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.